will that into something that makes sense. Like, nah, come on, man. You gotta make it happen. You gotta do the same thing that the people that's winning doing. Same thing they doing. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. They training. We don't want to train.
We talk about
we just want to fight. We just want to fight. We don't duck none of them. Everything is an argument.
Right.
You're on your way somewhere. You want to stop arguing. We just want to fight.
But you don't feel like Obama was the embodiment of that?
I'm not against what he did, but I'll be honest with you. I feel like he did the best that he could from the position that he was in, right? Mm-hmm. Based on the fact that, like you said, that was a very, very delicate situation that he was in. His hair literally turned snow white in that 8 years, like in front of us. Like we watched him just, you know what I'm saying? So when he handled it, like we said earlier, very eloquently, very gracefully.
Well, I got to point out, there's a saying that 90% of keeping your job is making the people you work with comfortable. And if I was to put that in play, as far as Trump and Obama, then that would explain.
Now, Math, I got to push back on that. It depends on your position. If you are in a position of power, all right, my brother, if you are in a position of authority, i.e., a politician, a CEO of the United States of America, in this particular political climate, with the policies that our politicians have been putting forth, have you watched any Batman movies? Have you seen Gotham City? Your job is not to make the people who work for you or work with you comfortable. In fact, if you're in a position to make a difference, if you are a difference maker, your job is to do the opposite. Keep them as uncomfortable as possible. And here's where I understand Loon's point, and I definitely concur that sentiment when it comes to former President number 45, code word Donald F.J. Trump. When he said drain the swamp, when he went after not just Democrats, but Republicans, the goal it was to keep every single politician under United States payroll, who we are paying for, taxes, who your parents and your grandparents paid for. It's not about keeping them comfortable or uncomfortable. They got a goddamn job to do. And by golly, if they feel uncomfortable because you're pushing for what is right and they are particularly trying to fleece or rob or pull the wool over the eyes of the American people, then it is not your job to make them feel comfortable. In fact, conversely, adversely, you want them to feel as uncomfortable as possible. You understand that in Japan, if a CEO, just a CEO, not a sworn politician, not a sworn official, just a CEO, if he doesn't rake in a certain amount of profits, a billionaire, a multi-millionaire CEO in Japan will commit harakiri. Harakiri is when they jump off of the bridge. Let me just show you. No one has to kill them. They will literally jump off of the bridge and kill themselves. Okay? That's what they will do. Meaning they don't need someone else to make them feel uncomfortable. They will jump off of the bridge themselves. Or as what the samurais used to do was this. After they lose a bout, let's fast forward to the part. This is harakiri. Okay, it's too gruesome for YouTube, but basically they would take the knife to their own belly and gut themselves. Well, that's what these CEOs jumping off of bridges would do. They would just jump off a bridge. Okay? And then off themselves. All right? Because for them, they knew that they had a duty for the people that they sworn a duty to. All right? They knew they had a duty to fulfill and make them a prophet. That's just if they failed to make people a prophet, like they would just commit suicide. Like not this fake stuff you see here. They would literally jump off of the bridge. This wasn't play. Look, here's one. This is an American.
Bed Bath & Beyond confirming its chief
This is
financial
just 10 months
officer
ago.
fell to his death from a Manhattan high-rise on Friday. We are now learning he was being sued for allegedly inflating the company's stock in a pump and
See
dump
that?
scheme. Dave,
Now this man was allegedly in a pump and dump scheme. Guilty or not? I'm not saying this man is guilty, but he feel like he failed the people because his name was involved in questionable allegations. I am not saying that this CEO is guilty of Bath. I'm just using this as an example. He killed himself.
57-story high-rise in the Trinity Tribeca neighborhood is nicknamed the Jenga Building because of its unusual design that
He
resembles
jumped
the
off the
popular game.
Jenga building.
Parnell's death comes days after the company not only said it was slashing 20% of its workforce, but would be closing about 150 of it.
You know why he did that? Because 20% of his workforce would have no jobs. This man couldn't live with himself. He says 20. You see that? You see how uncomfortable he was? And yet your politicians, unemployment, all right, unprecedented rates, inflation, a gallon of gas costs as much as a gallon of milk. It's freaking ridiculous. A loaf of bread costs as much as a gallon of gas, $4, dang near. And yet, on top of that, the bread gets moldy after 6 days. You know, you used to be able to keep bread for at least 2 weeks before you had to put it in the freezer. Now you got to, as soon as you open your bread, fresh out the store, you got to put it in the freezer. And then you got to nuke it for 10 seconds before you can make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich out the freezer. What is going on? And that's because that bread has been sitting in the factory storehouse for weeks longer than it normally sat because they're just inflation. And why has it been sitting longer? Because ain't as much bread growing. There was not as much grain out there because of building and pollution and global warming. All the while, our politicians are comfortable. They're comfortable, y'all. They're comfortable. There'll be more. This is part 1. Y'all hit the like, share, subscription, subscribe. Subscribe to the channel. Check your boy out. Tell me this ain't some of the hottest stuff on the channel. This ain't some of the hottest stuff out there. Subscribe to the channel. Check me out, y'all. Show some love, support. You know what it is. Andreas Warren Meta Talk. Easy.